Okay, we'll just wait for a couple of more minutes and then we'll get started. Anybody has any questions? What we did in 11 classes for SQL and the 3 classes for PLSQL. So today would be the last day for PLSQL. And from tomorrow we will start Informatica.
Power Center or Informatica?
I'll start Informatica Power Center tomorrow. That takes between 4 to 5 weeks. So
Yeah. Yes, Abdul, is there any download version
yeah,
available for?
yeah,
Okay.
good thing. Let me actually forward that right now while I'm waiting for everyone to join. I'll just do it after the class. Yeah. Okay, so I will send you 4 links. You will have to download those, and I will send you a YouTube tutorial as well. Just follow that. Okay, just try to follow that and install it. Usually, I don't have to help anybody in my class with the installation. Sometimes there might be issues, but let's not spend too much time with the installation tomorrow in the class. Okay, I don't want to do the installation in class, so just spend some time. Like, it will, if you're doing it for the first time, it will take about 1.5 hours to 2 hours for the installation. But if I do it and the computer is fast, it takes me like 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, it's pretty easy. You don't have, just follow the steps. Just follow the steps in that YouTube tutorial I'm going to give you, and work together, guys. I don't see this batch working together on assignments or. Okay, so if just think of a time after the class, think of it, just discuss a time and say, I'm working on this assignment. Do you guys want to join or something like that? Work according to your timings. Okay. With the installation, also work among yourself. See, I can help with the installation, but you will not learn anything. I want you guys to struggle and see what kind of mistakes you will make when you install Power Center. Once again, at work, you will never have to install this database. You will never have to install Power Center because there will be a database admin who will install database. There will be Informatica admin who will install Informatica Power Center on your computer when you go to work. But you should know the in and out of the tools you're working with. Okay. In my 12 years of experience, I never had to install Power Center. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing to learn the in and outs of the software you will be making a living on. Right? You cannot be just like, oh, I'm an Informatica developer. I will never have to install Power Center at work. So why should I learn? No, don't keep that attitude. Okay, try to learn as much as you can, even though you will never be doing it. You should at least know like what is Power Center made of. What are the different components? When you install, how do you install it?
Yeah. Recording on?
What was that? Your
Is
voice
it?
was breaking.
Yeah. Is recording on?
Yeah, the recording is on.
Okay.
Yeah, you see this left square, the red square thing on the top left. That shows that the recording is on. Um, yeah, I'll send you those softwares when the class ends. Who is missing? Kamran, Ali, Irfan. Who is missing?
Turab is missing, I think.
Okay. Why is Turab missing? Can someone check on Turab?
Yeah, I'll call him.
Okay. Thank you. Yasin is missing. Badri,
Yasin. Yeah, Yasin is missing.
Yasin is missing. Badri is missing. Wasim is missing. Irfan joined. Amir. Yasir is here. Okay.
I think Mustafa is missing too, right?
Yep. He's missing too. I think somebody joined.
Abdul Gayyum is missing also.
Who?
Abdul Gayyum. Abdul Gayyum. I think he joined recently.
No, he left. He left. He said he won't be continuing because he already missed SQL and he was kind of not following the class. So he joined just recently, last week. So last weekend. So he missed. So guys, it's going to be difficult if you miss even a single class, right? Because the topics I'm covering today is we are building on the topics we learned last class. So even if the problem with these courses is you miss one single class, everything is going to be a blank starting from that class, unless you watch the recording and prepare yourself. So that's the reason when on day one, I tell people that the next 2.5 months, your next 2.5 months are mine, because I'll be giving the schedule and you will have to follow that. After the training is done, I don't care what you do, but when you're attending the training, please make sure that you follow my schedule. You guys are doing a good job so far. So yeah, but if you miss like all of SQL and then you join PLSQL, it's going to be difficult for you. I have somebody who joined today. His name is Gauss. So he missed SQL, but I just asked him to join the class and see how he likes it and if he's following it. If he's following it, he'll continue. Otherwise, he'll just join the next batch. But you guys are following everything, right, so far?
Yes.
Whatever we did in SQL and PLSQL.
In
So
only that.
first, yeah.
Yeah, so today is going to be the final class for PLSQL. Today is going to be the final class of all the complicated things we do. From tomorrow onwards, it's going to be just like, oh, you want this? Drag and drop. You want a wait statement? Drag and drop. You want a group by? Drag and drop. You want in Power Center, you want to update a record? Drag and drop. Okay. You want to concatenate two columns? Drag and drop. Okay. So everything is going to be drag and drop, double click, right click, check a box, uncheck a box, that kind of things. But like I say in every class, if you know SQL, Power Center is going to be very easy, because we do whatever we do in SQL and PLSQL in Power Center. Okay, it's 10:15.
Yes, Abdul, one more thing.
Yeah.
Is there any other tool that's identified with Informatica, or is just Power Center?
Informatica is the name of the company.
Okay.
It has
So-
many tools, like
Okay.
there is So Informatica is the name of the company. Just like Microsoft is the name of the company, and they have Windows, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all these different operating systems. So Informatica is the name of the company. Their ETL tool is called Power Center. Their ETL tool is called Power Center, and then they have MDM. They have MDM. They have ILM. They have IDQ. This is their data quality tool. This is their data quality tool. So this company has all of these softwares. They have Power Center, MDM, ILM, IDQ. They have EDC. They have BDM, BDM, Big Data Management. They have all of these. They have all of these tools. Power Center, MDM, ILM, IDQ, EDC, BDM. Yeah, we are going
Are
to be
they
doing this.
are they interrelated in any way? I mean, like which one mostly used together with any other?
See, this one itself is so vast. I've been working on it for 12 years. Even there are some features I have not used. So you will never find anybody in the market who knows this. No. Most of the people in the market you will find are who would know this, little bit of this. They would know their major, like in college, you have major and minor, right? So they'll know their skill set will be 95% of this and 5% of this. There'll be skill set will be 90% of this and 10% of this, something like that. So you cannot find anybody in the market. So the combination of this one and this one is it's really hard. Like if you know Power Center and MDM, I can guarantee you'll get a job in 1 week. In 5 days, you'll get a job. But it's very difficult to find people who know this and this. This one and this one is combination is very hot in the market. Okay, I can show you. In data stage, this is IBM's MDM2. See, ETL and MDM, Informatica MDM, MDM in Chicago, MDM developer in Rosemont, MDM California, Irvine. This is where I live. MDM Plano, Texas. This is all from one day. So this MDM is pretty hot in the market.
True.
So we will be applying for positions like this for you. This is a remote position. This one is based out of Houston. You need senior consultant with Informatica Power Center. Okay, doesn't say much. Let me look at another one. See, this one is Dayton, Ohio. This one uses SSIS. This is Microsoft's ETL tool. Houston. Let's look at this one. No, not this one. This one. So if you look at this one, you need ETL, Oracle, PLSQL, Informatica. Teradata is another database just like Oracle. Okay, so this is what a typical job requirement will look like. Columbus, Ohio. See, performance tuning of Informatica experience, shell scripting, SQL is also required. SQL is also required. This is a remote project. They want somebody with Informatica, SQL queries, data modeling. Somebody has taken a class for data modeling, right? I think Yasser, you right? You have done data modeling, right? So excellent communication and collaboration skills. So,
Yes, Abdul. Yeah, I've done a couple of like projects on data
data
modeling.
modeling. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. The combination is going to be good. Informatica. See, Informatica is. Oh, this is the same one I just opened.
So data modeling mostly involve like what sort of data is needed for a particular database, something like that. What keys and what type of columns in table.
Yes, sir. You want to answer that?
Basically, it is to understand it from a very basic level. So the way you design a warehouse or any kind of like data, from when you take the business requirements from the business user, so you model it in a way to tell them like what would be the tables, what would be the columns in like a very basic level called conceptual data model, where you show it to the business user, and then that conceptual model in the next step transform into a logical data model, where you identify like add a little bit of like technical features like data types and foreign key, primary key, and then that model in the next step you transform it to like into a physical data model which the DBAs and the data architects implemented.
Something like that.
in real world, in a data warehouse.
And what kind of data modeling tools have you used? Have you used Irwin?
Yes, I've used Irwin mostly.
Okay. ERWIN, right? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we get a data so at my work, so how do we decide which? So we get an Excel sheet. Remember, I showed you guys, we receive an Excel sheet which shows the column should be named like this, the data type should be like, I am not going to go create a table with a name like this. Okay, I do not come up with the names, the column names. No, because if everybody comes up with their own column names, table names, the syntax, it will be a mess. So there is one person who decides what will be the table name, what will be the column name, what will be the data type, and they send us an Excel. Then we create, also from the Irwin data model, you can export the DDLs. So at work you will not be writing something like this, create table name. No, they will give you your job. Suppose if you have 100 columns in a table, you're not going to write a create table with 100 columns, right? So data modelers like Yasser, they will send you an Irwin data model, and from that you can export the DDL. You export the DDL, copy paste, and execute. You will not be writing, but I showed you how to write a create statement, so you should know how table is created and everything.
Yes, with forward engineering and reverse engineering, you can play around with the, like, if you have the DDL. So with forward engineering, you can go ahead and transform that DDL or that script, if it is like a T-SQL script or like PL/SQL or any kind of script, you can transform it into a data model. And if
Yeah,
you have a data model with reverse engineering, you can generate a DDL for like any data model.
yeah, because you have hundreds of tables at work. You're not going to be writing a create table for every single. In some smaller companies, where they don't have a data modeler, yes, you have to write your create table. In one of the companies I worked for, they didn't have a data modeler. So I would just get a requirement from the business analyst saying, okay, create this table with this name, with these columns, keep whatever column names you want. Or she would say, just go and look at the existing table, and primary key should be named like this. And you would have to join on this column and this column. Like, you have a proper data model here, right? All you have to do is in Irwin, right click and export, or on the options, you go and export DDL, and then you just copy paste and execute it. And if we have time, I'll have Yasir do a small session on the data model, or at least just talk about it a little bit. But for
Yeah,
now, just
that will be great.
yeah, for now, yeah. But don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Even if you don't know data modeling, you don't have to worry about it. All you have to do is, at work, they will give you the details. Sometimes they will export the details and send it to you. In my company, in my current company, they export the details, attach it in an email, and send it to us, and also upload it on a SharePoint, so where we can go and download it. Okay, but this is, data modelers is the one who decides the table and how many columns it should have, how should one table be, how is the data flowing from one table to another table, and which columns that the it should be joined, what should be the length. Okay, what should be the length of each column, and is it a null column or a not null column. So yeah, so they will send you the details for you to create tables. Okay, you don't have to worry too much about that. But anyways, so that's how the requirements look like. Okay, and once again, you don't have to worry about the job search. We have a team of 4 people whose only job from 9 to 5 central time is to do job search. Okay, you shouldn't be too worried about it. Okay, let's get back. It's already 10:30. So yeah,
Abdul, one more thing I'm gonna ask you about the work. So let's say that like if we work in a specific company and then the requirement is a power center. So let's say in any cases they're gonna ask to use the SQL or no SQL PLSQL too, or if it's like a power center based company, then we're gonna use all the time power center.
you will only be using Power Center. Okay,
Okay.
you will only be using Power Center. to extract the data, transform the data, and load it, you will only be using Power Center. Okay,
Okay.
but you should still know how group. So if you, how does what is Power Center? Okay, Power Center is just a graphical representation of writing SQL. Over here, you type SQL. Over there, you drag and drop. Okay, so in whatever you do in SQL Developer can be done in Power Center in a much easier way. Okay, but I cannot jump directly to SQL. Why do you think the last 20-21 days I spent time teaching SQL and PLSQL? Because you need to know this before you jump into PLSQL, before you jump into Power Center. This Power Center is nothing but whatever I'm typing here over there, it's just drag and drop from the top in there. So if you don't know SQL, it's going to be very difficult to work with Power Center. So people who usually join my classes in the middle of the batch, the first question I ask them is, do you know SQL? If they say yes, I only then I accept them in the batch. If they say I don't know SQL, then I just clearly tell them, okay, don't waste your time and money. Just join back in the next batch because I want you to attend. I want you to attend from scratch. Because if you just join Power Center if you just join after 2 weeks or 3 weeks and you don't know SQL, it's going to be very difficult. So you will be doing everything from Power Center, but if you want to analyze the data, you would come to the database and see how does this data look like and how is the data in the table and all those things. After you load data into another table, you can just go and check if the data looks good and all that. Okay, but majority of the times you'll be working with Power Center to transform the data.
So I'm just curious, like, is the job requirements pretty similar state-wise? Like, what they're asking for in California isn't similar to New York and stuff. I'm just curious because I saw like jobs that you were clicking on, one from Houston, and I'm just curious to see like what they're asking for in Texas. And
No, there is nothing like that. Every company is going to be different. So over here, it doesn't say much. This says need senior consultant with Informatica Power Center experience. That's all it says. So I have this team here of 4 people. I have this team of 4 people. Their job is to search for. Their job is to search for jobs between 9 and 5 Central Time. Okay, I even have a group chat with them. If I see any good requirement, I just forward it directly in there. Okay, so yeah, so don't worry too much about the job search. We have a team of professionals who've been doing this for the past 3 years who can handle this for you. Your job is to just attend classes and work on assignments. That's all I'm asking for you. Okay, let's get started. Today we will cover exceptions. Okay, so today we will cover exceptions. Now, let me write a simple unnamed stored procedure block. Okay, so I will type in declare. I will say, so this is what I'm trying to do. I have this table. I want you guys to tell me how to proceed. Let's not do star. Let's do employee underscore ID, first underscore name, last underscore salary. Okay. So I want to bring this data. Okay, listen to my question very carefully. I want to bring this data into a into a block, a PLSQL unnamed block, and I want to type in employee ID is 101 and first name is Nina and last name is salary. How would I do it? So I want to bring in this data from this table into a into an unnamed block, and then I want to display employee ID is 101. And is that clear? So how would I proceed?
Okay, well, we can use cursor or
Let's not use a cursor. You can use a cursor, but let's not use a cursor. Why? Can someone tell me why we
just
don't?
one,
Very good.
just one. Yeah.
Very good. We are only returning one row. So I don't need to use a cursor. So you can use a cursor, but don't use a cursor. Let's keep it simple. Okay, so tell me how to proceed.
Bring it into an array, I will say.
Array variables. Array is similar values. These are different values, right? So one is varchar, one is number. So yeah, okay. So tell me how to proceed. Tell me what to type here. Yes, come on. So declare. First, I will write three variables. So v underscore employee underscore id. I'll call this as number. Then v underscore first underscore name. I will call this as varchar 200. Then I'll create a third variable. Call this as salary. Okay. Then I will say begin. Select. So now I will write this query. Select employee ID, first name, last name into, I will say employee ID. I will extract these three records and then store it into these three variables, right? Right. Then I will say dbms and everybody is blank. Put underscore line. Over here I will say employee since I took the data from this table and stored it into this, took this and stored it into this, and took this and stored it into this. So I will say employee ID is this, pipe, first name is salary is here. So I return employee number is 101, first name is Nina, salary is 100. So I extracted data from this table. Transform the data, and then displaying on the screen. Is this clear to everyone? Is this clear to everyone?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So simple. I wrote a query and I want to extract this. So I store it into this variable, this variable, this variable. Then I show you the data. Okay, please execute this. Now, what happens if I say employee ID equals to minus 100? Can an employee ID be minus 100? No, right? Employee ID cannot be minus. It doesn't make sense, right? So what if I execute this? Or let me say employee ID equals, there is no employee ID called 1, right? There is no employee ID called 1. So what happens when I execute this? So when I execute this, it will give you no data found. Okay. So this is a very crude way. Of saying there is no data available. There should be a very graceful way of saying there is no data available, right? Over here, it's like screaming in your face that what you did is not good. It is wrong, right? So it is displaying all these angry messages, right? A good programmer, his or her code will always display the data. If it's not satisfying any condition, it will exit gracefully. Over here, it's not exiting gracefully. It is doing all these angry things. Okay. So if there is no data, you will always see this message, no data found, no data was found, because when you execute this thing, right, the employee ID equals to 1, there is no data, there is no employee ID 1. So how do you exit gracefully? Okay. If you don't do this also, it's okay. There is no problem with this, because when you have data, it will work fine. When you don't have data, it will display no data found. Okay. See, employee ID, this is, it will work, but you should always have an exception. Okay, that is the reason. Exception is it's not mandatory, it's optional. So how do we exit gracefully from this? Okay, so you will have this, and before the end, so remember I told you on day one, you have declare, you have begin, you declare, begin, exception, then end, right? So I said this is optional, this is mandatory. Without this, you cannot have a block or a stored procedure. This is optional. Okay, so this is optional. So even without this, it's working. So let me do an exception here. So how do you do an exception? So all you have to do is type in. So first of all, we are doing, this is called as a system defined exception. Okay, this is called as a system defined exception. So these are already built in the database. Okay, so then later I will do user defined exception. So I'm going to say exception here. I'm going to say exception, and then I will say when no data found. This is already predefined. Okay, you don't have to say anything. When no data found, then ppms underscore output dot put underscore line. You can display this message. You can say this employee underscore ID does not exist. Okay, let's go back and execute this again. So what will happen if employee ID 101 is there? It will do this. Otherwise, if there is no data returned, then it will do this. This is like if then else. See, employee number is 101. In this case, data is transformed. What if I say employee ID is -1? Previously, it was giving a bunch of messages saying no data found and this and that. Now it will see, it will exit out gracefully. This employee ID does not exist. Is that clear?
Abdul, so we don't have to put the end for the exception, right?
No. And there is only one end. If you have one begin, then you have one end. If you have one begin, then you have one end.
No, I mean like for the if conditions, you remember? Begin, end,
Oh, no.
end.
No. Like for example, for loop, you have end loop. For open cursor, you have close cursor. Yeah, not for this. Is this clear? Let's try this out. Try this out, okay? You should have exception handling. Okay, you should have exception handling. So you should know what's happening. Okay,
So for exception handling, we can have another block basically to do something, or just a message display.
see, you can display on the screen, or you can insert this into another table called error table.
No, I'm saying that the nature of exception handling is it's not probably just limited to displaying a message or getting a message. Rather, it can be another routine to do something, with the data or whatever. Or
Yes, I showed in previous classes. You either display on the screen or insert into another table, right? I showed it in previous class. Who remembers that? Either you display on the screen or you store it into another message, right? Into
right.
another table, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. dbms underscore output dot put underscore line will display on the screen. If you do not want to display this on the screen, you can insert data into another table. Okay, you don't have to display anything on the screen. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so in this case, if it finds data, it will do this. If it doesn't find data, it will not display those messages on the screen. You will instead display this. Now, apart from no data found, what else can be there? Okay, what else are there? So you can take a look at this. So we did, which one did we do? Data not, no data found. We did this one. Okay, like this. This is a, they always ask this in interview, zero divide. If you're dividing something by zero, it's not valid, right? If you're dividing something by zero, it's not valid, right? So they will ask, so this one is this one, and this one and this one is mostly used. What happens if you see this error message? Too many rows? What happens when you see that?
So maybe there's a limitation on number of records.
No, it means you have to use a cursor because your select statement is returning more than one row, right?
Okay.
Right? You only answered this question. For example, if I do this, I'm returning so many records, right? So see, fetch returns more than the requested number of rows, right? So that means you have to use a cursor because your select statement is now returning 107 rows. For that, you have to use a cursor, right? That's clear?
Yes.
So these are all the different exception. So mostly use this one, no data found. Sometimes you use too many rows. Zero divide is very common. Okay. Yeah, so go through these lists and you can use this in any of your exceptions. Okay, every code should have an exception. Every PL SQL block should have an exception. Without an exception, it looks very like a very sloppy code. Like it's okay. Now, so let me fix this. Clear out the error messages and execute this. Okay, so this is a simple code. This one is already defined, right? These are all predefined ones. What if my employee ID is -1 and I want to display a message, employee ID is negative, please fix? That is not there, right? Is negative or something is not there over here, right? So we have to create one for ourselves. When I put -1, it says no data found, right? But that is I mean, it's very broad, right? This one should say no data found, but if you're typing in a minus, it should display you're using negative employee ID. Please do not use that, something like that, right? Okay, so let me write another one. Okay, so let's begin. Let me say begin employee ID. Okay, so how do we do that? Okay, so you will have to create something called as a negative input. This is another variable which you're creating, and the data type will be exception. Data type will be exception. So I created another I created a brand new variable called negative input and call this as exception. See, notice there is no data type number or varchar. Okay, begin. Hold on 1 second. We will have to slightly modify this where employee underscore ID equals v underscore employee underscore ID. And over here you will say v underscore employee underscore ID number equals 100. Let me execute this. So instead of hard coding 100 here, I'm putting that value here. I'll tell you the reason why.
Maybe Abdul, maybe we would like say v underscore employee ID is equal to employee ID, not on the where statement, before it or after it. You remember you were doing the v underscore employee ID is equal to something after the begin. Later, then you were using it as a with the comment.
What was that?
I mean, before yesterday, you showed us that sometimes when you were declaring some new, you remember like I, you declared I.
Oh yeah.
You were
okay.
doing like separately after
Okay. Yeah. 1 second. Where employee ID equals at once. So it says, what is the error message I'm receiving? So let me clear this out. So error at line 9 over here with employee ID equals v underscore employee ID equals to, why is it saying I'm using two different, at most one declaration for v employee ID is permitted? Oh, everybody go on mute, please.
now you can tell something. Yes.
Okay, let me not do this. Okay, let me just keep this one like this. Okay, so let me just write a simple procedure block.
Abdul, excuse me.
Yeah.
Can you write like a v underscore employee ID separately is equal to employee ID after the where statement? Later, then you can put in front of the where v underscore employee ID. I mean, I logically understand that like it is the v underscore employee ID which you're gonna declare. This should be separately after the begin. I think so. Like it shouldn't go right away to the where statement.
I didn't understand. So over here, you're saying
After, or maybe after where statement, after DBMS, maybe you can put over there that, before exception. Before, yes,
okay.
maybe like a logically, I understand that like it should be v underscore employee ID is equal to whatever the value you want to give in front of the where condition.
Let me come back and fix that. Okay, let me come back and fix that. This one should work. Okay, for now, just let's look into this one. So I'm declaring two integers. So I'm declaring a as integer number, then and then I'll assign the value 20 to it. Then I will declare another integer b, and then I'll call this as number, and then I'll assign the value 10 to it. Okay. Okay. Then I will say over here I will say begin. Why is this a problem? Declare a integer number. A integer 20. Okay. Anyways, so over here I will say if I'm going to use if, else if then else if and else. Okay, so this is what we did before. Over here I will say if a greater than b, then bbms underscore output dot put underscore line. So if a is greater than b, then display a is greater than b. Okay, if then, and then I'll say else if b is greater than a, then dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. Then I will say b is greater than a, if then else if, and then the last one will be, final condition will be else I will say they are both equal. These are the only three conditions, right? If a is greater than b is greater than a, or a is greater than b. So I will say a is equal to b. Then I will say and then I will say and if, then I will say and. Okay, let me execute this. Oh, why am I saying a integer number? Okay, it's either integer or number. Sorry. Okay, let me execute this. That's why it was giving that red. So now I'm getting a message a is greater than b. Now if I make this as 30, now this condition will be satisfied. The second condition will be satisfied. Now I will see b is greater than a. So if I make this both as same, the third condition will get satisfied. So I will see, oh sorry, it should a is equals to b. All three conditions are satisfied. Now what happens if one of the numbers is negative? What happens if one of the numbers is negative? We don't want that. Okay, the moment, so if one of the numbers is negative, it will still say a is greater than b, but that is invalid because the moment I see a negative value, none of the conditions should be satisfied. Is that clear? My business requirement says if somebody enters a negative value, it shouldn't display this. Technically this is right, but the moment I see a negative value, it shouldn't even begin the code, it should exit out. So I should put something at the start itself, right? I should put something at the start itself saying that even before you start checking, check if these numbers are positive. Only then start doing this. If one of the numbers is negative, immediately exit out here only. Don't even go into this code. So over here, is that clear to everyone what the requirement here is?
Can we
Yeah.
write down that like as we did before, if let's say
Yeah,
if
I'm
b
so first thing you will have to check that if any of the if any of the numbers are negative or not. Okay, so there are two ways of doing it. Like you just said, you can say begin if you can say if a is less than 0 or b
okay.
is less than 0, then you can say then dbms underscore output dot put underscore line a or b is negative is fixed, and then you otherwise you will say else if something like this, right? This is one way of doing it. A or b is negative, please fix.
Don't
Okay.
we need to exit after that error message?
Yeah, it's exiting. It's not checking. It's not displaying this one, right?
Oh, okay.
It is exiting here. Now,
Okay.
you can either do it this way, or or you can do it in another way. Like you can have a proper exception. What is the problem if you don't use an exception? Now people will have to check where this code is, right? People will have to check where this code is in the entire block. Okay, so this can be handled in a better way. So let me just comment out this part, make this as if this will work. Unfortunately, it will say A is greater than B, which is true, but we don't want like that. So we are going to call this as, we're going to create a negative val, negative input. That's negative input, and it will be an exception. So we are going to create a new data type, exception data type called negative input. Okay, this is the like how we are checking for the first thing, that whether if it's positive or negative. Same thing you will do here. Okay, you will say, will actually use this one only. So over here, the first thing you will say is if A is less than 0 or B is less than 0, then you will say, then raise this exception. So raise this exception. Raise this exception. If it satisfies this condition, then continue on. If it doesn't satisfy this, exit out immediately. Then you will have a separate block for exception. Okay, sorry. You will have a separate block for, so everything will complete, and then over here you will just type in exception. Okay, when negative input, then you will say, you can just pass this message. Same thing, whatever we did before, I'm doing again. The same condition, if A is less than 0 or B is less than 0, I did that here. This one, I'm passing it here. When this exception is being called, when this exception is being called, then display. When negative exception, then tbms underscore output or put underscore line, and you will say this. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes. Just curious that is there a way to use like absolute value? I mean, if you just want to ignore the sign plus or minus, so that won't be probably an exception.
Yeah,
We just, I
you
mean,
can do that.
depending upon the
Yeah,
requirement.
if
Yeah.
somebody says whatever values you get, convert it to positive. Don't pass an error message. Whatever values you're getting, those are good. If it's negative value, convert it to positive and then continue with this. Yeah, you can do that. So anyways, let's execute this, but there is a red line here. I don't know why.
Abdul, should it be the second if else if? Yes, over there. Because there is two if but one end.
Oh yeah, so yeah, we cannot have two ifs. So we already have first if, so the second one should be else if. Okay, that red line went away. That is right. So you can only have if, then else if, and then else. Okay, that is correct. So now let's execute this. See, A or B is negative, please fix. Okay, so now you know that the exception part is taking care of it. Okay, the exception part is taking care of it. Is that clear?
Abdul, it's clear, but don't get me wrong. Like, why I have to write down like these kind of many things instead of the previous one? It's the same message shows me, right?
Yeah, but you won't have just one condition there. So this is the proper way. See, every code should have the good part and the bad part. You cannot club everything in just the good part, saying that okay. You cannot just say okay, everything should be just like this. Okay, You cannot just say everything should be just part of the good part. Okay, you should have, even in Power Center, in every programming language, Unix, in Power Center, you have what the normal code should do, and if it doesn't satisfy any conditions, then you have to go here. Okay, or you can say over here, you can say exception. You can say exception here B is negative. So let me just comment this one out. So exception A or B is negative, please fix. So people will immediately look into the exception part. Okay, you can over here also you can say exception A or B is negative, please fix, but you can either do it this way or this way. Most programmers prefer this way, that you raise a proper exception. You raise a proper exception, and then they don't want to club the regular code with the error handling. This is called error handling. In Power Center also we have we are going to do a class specifically on error handling.
I mean, I understand what you mean. I clearly understand everything. My question is that like there is not any difference between this one and previous one, correct?
That's what I said. There is no difference. You can do what you can do.
It's
either
up to us. It's up to us. Like whatever, which way we want to choose.
Yeah, but if your lead decides, your manager or leads decide that you should have an exception, you have to go with the exception. Then you cannot say I will do this. Okay, if they leave it up to you, do whatever you want, because the user is not going to care whether you pass this message in the exception or you pass this message as the regular body. Okay, the person who is going to execute this code will. Okay, so this is what will happen. So this is what the user will do. Let me, okay, so this is clear, right? Exception. So I'm going to move on to the next part. I'm going to say create or replace.
Abdul, I have a question.
Yeah.
Let's say you want to do the same process, but instead of just negative input, you want to put like negative input if it's only less than minus 10. Okay, then negative input will not work, but instead of less than a less than 0, b less than 0, you can put a less than minus 10, b less than minus 10.
Yeah.
But in the negative input, can you add something in negative input less than 10, less than minus 10, then put all this? No, not over there. Can you? I mean, clearly you can do it there, but can you do the same thing on the negative input part?
This is a negative input part. I created an exception.
I mean, as I understand that Ali means that like a negative input should take any, can it take any number as a value in the declaration part, that negative input, it doesn't mean that maybe for me minus 0, I mean less than 0, but maybe it is less than minus 10. So
over here. Oh, you mean over here? You shouldn't even pass anything like negative values.
Can we, as I understand, and Ali's question is like that, is it a way that like we can mention the minus value, let's say after minus 5? It means that if we're gonna give minus 3 to the b, it shouldn't go as a negative input for me.
So basically, it will accept a negative number, but only within a certain range, or above certain certain value or something like that. Okay, yeah, I guess that's possible. Probably.
Yeah. So let's make this as minus 5, and over here I will say if a is less than minus 10. So it will still continue into the body of the program. It will not go to the exception part. See? Oh wait, it still went into the exception. So if a is less than minus 10, oh, if a is less, so minus 5 is less than minus 10. Oh, sorry, I made it b. Sorry. Let me put this here as well. See, it still went into the body of the program. It did not say is negative or please. So you will have to change this. You will have to say is less than minus 10. Now, if I make this as 15, now it will go into the exception. See, I will save the previous one. Now, if I execute this, now it will go into the exception. So as long as this condition is not satisfied, it will jump into the body of the program. The moment this one is, that is the reason you will write the exception at the top. Always write exception at the top. See if I can show you.
Yeah, I got it, Abdul.
Okay, so always write exceptions at the top, because even before the body of the program executes, you don't even want it to execute unless it satisfies the conditions. See, no, that, so these are user defined. See, the first one, the first thing is going to be raise this exception, else continue doing whatever you want to do. Okay. Okay, so like I said, Kamran was asking, can I do it here or here? It doesn't matter. Do wherever you want, because the end user is not going to care if the message is passed through this or passed through the exception, because this is what you're going to do. So far we did unnamed blocks, right? So far we did unnamed blocks. So I'm going to create or replace procedure, and then I'm going to call this as I'm going to call this as a underscore b underscore value, something like this. Okay, so I'm going to say create or replace procedure a underscore b values is declare, and then at the end I will say why is this getting an error? 1 second. There are two ways of doing it. You can right click on a procedure, new procedure. You can use a shortcut, or you can write create or replace. Oh, sorry, create or what did I type there? Oh. Create or replace procedure. Begin, create or replace procedure. So create or replace a procedure name as, and then begin. As, and then. Okay. So your user does not have to come to work every day and execute starting from here. They don't have to execute starting from here. Okay. So you can type in create or replace procedure, and then the procedure name as begin. Because you wrote another begin here, you have to write an end at the end. Wait, this begin means this end. This begin is coming. Okay, let me execute this 1 second. Yeah, it says compiled. If there are error messages, it will say compiled with errors. Okay, now if I go here and refresh, if I go here, see a underscore b values. Now this got stored in the database. Just like a view, you write it, it's not just for example, you write a join statement, it's on the screen. But if you want to store it in the database, you have to write create view as, and then the view gets stored in the database, right? Same. Now, if I want to execute this, either you can type in execute a underscore b underscore values, Okay, you can either do it like this, or if you're being lazy, you can just type in the first 4 characters. Even this will work. Okay, or the other way you can do is begin okay, this way or this way. There is 2 ways.
Maybe semicolon after values.
Yep, these are the 3 different ways. Or once again, if you don't want to write a code, you can right click from here. Okay, and you can just run. Say okay. See, you will it will connect to the database, execute this entire thing, and give you the percentage. There are 4 ways of doing it. Is this clear to everyone? So now you have this stored in your database. So this is how procedure works. Okay, so you have procedures. We'll take a break in 10 minutes. Okay, so you have procedures and functions. So okay, so let me go back. Okay, so in PLSQL, you will have unnamed blocks, which we did so far, and then again, this is divided in PL/SQL blocks, or PLSQL code is divided into unnamed blocks, and then it's divided into named blocks. Named block means it is stored in the database as a database object. This is not stored in the database as a database object. You will have to execute the complete create statement. Now, named blocks are again divided into procedures, and functions. We just did this one. Okay, this one may or may not return a value. Okay, may or may not return a value. You can write an update statement, and it will update the table, and it will not return anything. If you don't have to write a dbms underscore output or to return a value, functions will always return a value. For example, you write a for example, so in this one you will pass a value 5, and you want the square root of 5. You want the answer of 25. So this will be your input, and this will be your output. Okay, this one will always return a value. Over here, you may or may not return a value. Okay, so you have an input, output version, and then in and out version. Okay, but in any case, you have to pass these parameters. You have to pass 5, it will return 25. Okay. Function will always return a value. Procedures may or may not return a value. Okay, so the previous 3 classes we did these, but this one is pretty easy. All you have to do is just write create or replace procedure as, and then the body, and then exit. So it gets saved into the database as an object. Once again, you don't have to display these messages on the screen. You can always insert it into another table. Remember, previously I showed you one.
Yes, you created a table, then inserted
I,
all of them in the table.
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm trying
Was
to
it
see.
for trigger?
No, not trigger. I did it last class only. Wait, I'm trying to where did I create that table? History, locations, oral lines, regions, restaurant. Yeah, I don't remember. No, not that.
Abdul, I think 6 underscore 18 was the table, I think. Because of the date. You created the date of the table. 6 underscore 18. Check it.
I don't see 618.
I do remember that you created a table. I know, which was just the employee ID varchar and one column.
Yeah,
And everything
correct.
was going over there.
Correct. Just
It was the date of the day because our class was on the 18, I
okay.
think. So it should be the.
So I'm having a difficult time finding out the table which has only one column in it. How would I? Will I open each table and find out if that table has only one column in it? Will I open each one and do that? No, right?
All tables.
All tab columns.
All
All
tables
tab
and
columns, not all tables.
all type counts, and maybe we can use the count of the column names.
Very good.
One.
Yeah. So I will query all tab columns and let me close this out. I don't need this. Okay. And I don't want all the schemas. I only want HR schema because I know I created this in HR schema, right? Where owner equals HR. Okay. Now I will type in select table underscore name count star, and then I will say from table group by use my weird statement, group by having count star equals 1.
Is equal to 1. Yeah, equal to 1.
This will tell me the table which has only one column in it. Oh yeah, you're right. There is 16. Why did I not see 618?
Yes, 618 is the same one.
Why am I not seeing M618?
Maybe you dropped it.
No, then why would it be here?
No, maybe, can you check? Maybe it's not. Oh, it's under HR. I'm sorry.
Okay. This is emp underscore 6 underscore 8.
Abdul, can you please select start this one? Maybe you can see the inside.
Yeah. I'll do selection.
No, emp test.
No, this is empty. Did I create it in this schema or some other schema?
That was what I was thinking, that maybe you created in a different schema. But I'm pretty sure that it was the date of the day, and you only created one column. I mean, one column.
No, all these tables are empty. So let me not put a weird statement.
And Abdul, maybe you can put the name of the table, just put the emp underscore 6 underscore 18, then it's going to be pretty easy.
With owner with table underscore name like, let's say emp and then star. No, I'm still getting those 3 tables only. Maybe I truncated the table after I inserted data into those.
I don't think so. I checked your recordings too. I know that you created this table and it was always. But
Did I?
Abdul, so if you insert it as a display, so does it really go to the table?
Yeah,
Like a
yeah.
does, right?
Remember what we did for triggers? Either you can display the message on the screen or you can
Yes.
insert. So the audit table, let me see. This one I should have. I don't think I deleted this one. I don't think I dropped this one. I don't need count star and group. Select star from all tab columns. The table underscore name like audit. And schema equals, yeah, this one, emp underscore audit. Just to, but this was the, remember, Turab's salary was getting changed. So instead of displaying on the screen, I got rid of the ddms underscore output dot put underscore line and put an insert statement here, right? So usually you never display anything on the screen. You can display on the screen as well as insert it into another table. The last example which I did, I was um, displaying on the screen and I was displaying on the screen and as well as inserting it into another table. It was a varchar field. Yeah, this, no, not even this one. Okay, I don't see that table. That is very weird. Maybe,
Abdul, I checked your recording again. It's hr.emp underscore 6 underscore 18.
okay, maybe I dropped that table. I don't know. Okay, anyway, so coming back to this, you have unnamed blocks, you have named blocks, and this one you may or may not return a value, will always return a value. You pass a value to it, and then it will pass an output for this. This one may not return a value. Is that clear? So we'll take a break. We'll come back and finish off the assignment question, because that is definitely they'll ask what kind of stored procedures you have created. Okay, and then after that we can just go through any interview. We'll go through the interview questions and we'll take it from there. Okay. So it's 11:24. Let's be back by 11:40. Okay. I'll go on mute.
Is that? Hello.
Not
Hello. Okay, can you guys hear me?
yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, so the final topic, did you guys get a chance to work on the did you get a chance to work on the assignment question? So my question was, loop through all the columns in employees table. Loop through all the columns in employees table and check for a value 100. Were you able to do it? Yes or no? Okay, anyways. So first I'm going to find out all the columns in employees table which are number field. So I will type in select column underscore name table underscore name from all tab columns where owner equals HR and table underscore name equals employees and data underscore type equals number. This is the most common procedure or procedures or blocks we use at work. Loop through all the tables. Loop through all the tables. So right now I'm going to just loop through employees table. So where is my employee table? Yeah. I'm going to loop through all the employees table. I'm going to loop through all the columns in employees table which have number data type and check for a value 100. Okay, so if I execute this, these are the 5 columns in employees table which are number data type, right? Employee ID, salary, commission percentage, manager ID, department ID. So there is one way of writing that query. So I can type in select star from hr.employees where employee ID equals to 100. I can write the,
To add after the where, right?
what was that?
Like in SQL also, I think we can write this query. We can add whatever if we need 100 in these tables, then we can find this way
Yeah,
after the where.
yeah, but you will have to write 5 different queries for that. What if I ask you to loop through all the 100 tables and look at for all the number columns and look for this value? It's not going to be easy, right? You will have to write that many number of queries. So this is one way of doing it. This is one way of doing it, and then you can execute all of these. So it will tell you that it's that employee ID 100 is present in it's present in the first one. It's not present in here and here. Then it's present in here and here. Just when I execute the first query, I will see data. When I execute, nobody has salary. Even so, number field. There is no data there. There is no data here, and there is data here, and there is data here. Right? Is that clear? So first you have to find out all the columns which are number data type. Then you have to write this select statement. Okay, so let's get started. So this is how I'm going to chart. So I'm going to write something like this, declare, and then
Values, right? Like the values in the
what's that?
as we did before. Can we do the declare the values?
Yeah, so you can just declare something like this result, and then just call this as varchar 2 and then 1. I'm declaring this one. Then I'm going to say begin. After begin, I'm going to type in for statement because I want to loop through all the 5 columns, right? So if you want to loop through, so I'm going to use the for statement. Usually I use something like this, right? For r in 1 to 10. So it will display values. So usually I say like this, right? For r in 1 loop, and then say dbms underscore output dot put underscore line, and you will
R.
say just say r, then you will say end loop, you will say end. This will give you values from like 1 to 10, right? Okay, I declared something which I'm not using here, so I don't need to. Okay, so this is how you use for statement. So right now I'm not going to use for statement like that. So I'm going to say for r in, I will write this select statement. Okay, I will write this select statement. So it will loop through all these columns which are number data type, and it will check for a value. So now I have the list of all these columns, right? Now I will say loop, the same syntax which I just wrote before. So declare this. I'll tell you why I'm declaring this result. I'll tell you where I'm using for r in select a column name from alt tab where and then loop, and then I'm going to say begin and execute immediate. So does somebody know why we use execute immediate? Okay, now I'm going to explain that now. So we have a list of all the columns we want to query, right? And then we want to, once we get all the columns, we want to query those columns separately. So I don't want to hard code something like this. So I'm going to take an example of this. I'm going to take an example of this and type it over here. Execute immediate, and then I will say select null from space, and then I will say this Then I will get the table name from this one. So I will say r dot table underscore name. Like this, r dot table underscore name. Select star from table, and then I will have to write the where statement. Where, then I have to write the column name. The column name will come from here. Here r dot column name, and then pipe equals, what is the value we are looking for? 100, right? We're looking for the value 100, right? Select star from, okay, select null from, then you will say table name, where. So we don't want to hard code this table name and column name. The table name and the column name will be provided by the loop statement. So we will take, sorry, I already have it here. So I will take the output of this and keep passing this one at a time. So first I will pass employees here and then column name there. Second time I will pass this one here and then this one there. Third time I will pass table name here. So one at a time I will query. So I will end up with all of these equals to 100, and you will also have to say row num equals to 1. Okay, that means you're only picking up the first. Okay, you don't have to do this, but then you will say row num equals 1. Okay, why is this saying select null from r dot table name where r dot column name equals, am I missing something?
Maybe equal is gonna be in the same column.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Excuse me, can you please explain this? I don't understand that the row num actually what you say.
You know what is row num and row ID?
No, that's I know. I mean, over here you write the row num, so
okay,
it's-
so you want to so okay, when you execute this query, you want to return only, so for example, okay, let's look at this one. And this is not a good example. Let's look at this one. Okay, in this one you're returning 6 different rows, right?
Mhm.
I don't want the total count of 6 rows. As long as it's returning even one row, I'm okay, because it has this department ID 100. Over here I'm not counting the total number of rows, right? I'm saying even if it returns one row,
Mhm.
that record is present here. For example, if I execute this one, it doesn't have any row in it. So this condition is not satisfied for this one and this one. It's getting satisfied for this one, and this one. Okay.
Yeah, because of null. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm saying at least it should have one row in it. So that means that value 100 exists in that. Okay. Now, so this is called as, what is this called as?
So row num has to be in the semicolon, or I don't think so.
What is that?
Row num, because it is already comment, like it shouldn't be in the semicolon, I think.
Equals to 100 and row num equals to 1. What do you mean
But-
it shouldn't be in the semicolon? Because
But if
see,
it's gonna be like, it's gonna be as like a sentence that it's gonna write down that and row num is 1.
no, it has to be in semicolon. The column names and the table names are getting provided from this loop. Okay.
So I'm like after the execute, like yeah, I will understand after execute.
Okay. So see, this select null, this table. Oh, let me execute this. So you have your select statement, and these are variables, and these will be getting provided from here. This employee ID will go here. Employee ID will go in the column name, table name will go in this. So the next query will come in, the next record will come in, this column name will go here, and then so one at a time it will go. Okay, this is called as a dynamic SQL. This is called as dynamic SQL. This is called as static SQL. When you are executing this, the column name and the table name do not change, right? But over here, the column names keeps changing because so what does the word dynamic mean? It means keeps
Keep
changing.
changing.
It means it keeps changing. So whenever you're writing a select statement in the body of the statement, and the table name and the column names keep changing, you have to use execute immediate.
Oh,
Is that clear to everyone?
okay.
This is called as a dynamic SQL, because when this query executes, it will execute first this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. And this one, the column names keep changing, right? So when you're executing the block, those select statements don't even exist. When you execute the block at the runtime, when PLSQL is running, those 5 statements will be generated with different column names. So that is called as dynamic SQL. That means select statement is generated with different column names or the table names at the run instance. So
So
whenever
it
you're using
is
dynamic SQL, you will have to write execute immediate, your select statement, and then you will always have to store this into some value. You have, so whenever you're using dynamic hold on one second. Whenever you
okay.
use dynamic SQL, you'll have to write execute immediate your statement, and you will always have to do this. You will have to store this into a temporary or anything over here. Is
Okay.
that clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. After this, so what was the
Execute
question?
immediate is mandatory. Without that, it's not going to execute, right?
If you have a dynamic SQL,
Yeah, so dynamic SQL, then it's mandatory.
yes, and then this is also mandatory into results. You have to store
Okay.
this somewhere.
Okay.
Okay, that's why you created this. Okay, declare this begin for R and all these. This statement you already know from the second class of SQL. Find out all the columns and tables which are number data type in this employees table, and then loop begin execute immediate. This is something new. So you're executing select null from R table name where blah 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 into results. Okay. Once everything is stored into this, now you will type in dbms underscore output dot put underscore line, and then you can say over here you can say r dot column name. So pipe and you already have that here, r dot column. So you're saying it's, so you're executing 5 statements, but data is present only in 3 columns. So you will say over here you can say data is present in this one. Sorry, this semicolon should be outside. Okay. So deep. So once again, you don't have to display this message on the screen. You can write it into another table, and then you can store it into that table. So now
Would be opposite? First table name, then column name, or?
it doesn't matter. You can type in table name dot column name dot. It's up to you. You can do either this or this. Up to you. You can do whatever you want. Over here, you can pass. This is. It's up to you. This is a message you're passing. Okay. Now let's. This we will do. We will do not user defined function. We will do what's the other function called? System defined exception. So we will just write an exception here. We will just write an exception here and say when others, okay, when others, then you can just say null. Okay, I'm just doing a simple exception. You should have better than this one. You should say, if I pass the wrong table name, you should say table does not exist or something. Okay, I'm just going to keep it simple. Now I have this begin. So I will, so now I have to start closing. I have this begin, so I will say end. Okay, now I have this loop. Before this begin, then I have this loop. Now I will close this and loop. Before this loop, I have this big. Now I will say and okay, clear this out. Now I will execute. So my records data is present in this one, and this one. It's not present in this one and this one. So it should see only 3. Oh, sorry, others. See, data is present in employees.employee ID, manager ID, and department ID. Right? It's present in this one, and this one. It's not present in this one and this one. Now, if I want to query, if I want to check all these like 50 tables I have in employees table for all the number fields for this value, I'll just simply get rid of owner. Sorry, no. I will just get rid of this. Okay, I'll just get rid of this. Now it will query all the tables in HR schema for the number data type. So many of them have number data type. So I don't have to write select statement for every single table and all of this. So now it will loop through all of these. Now it will loop through all of these columns and check for that value. Okay. So execute this. So that value 100 is present in all of these columns. Okay, let's test it out. Just because it's saying doesn't mean that we should believe it. So select star from, this is the table name. So here department underscore ID equals 100. It's present. Let's look at some other. So let's look at LDAP salary example. So this is another table which I created. Here, this simple block will loop through this entire schema and all the columns and look for a specific value. Like someone said, be careful with your where statements. If you don't put this, what will happen? It will loop through HR schema, this one for the number data type. So make sure that when you're looping, exit out. And whenever you're looping, make sure that you're looking at a small data set. Don't just see what happens. I shouldn't be doing this, but let me do this. Now I'm going to loop through all the number data types in hundreds of, see how many columns do I have here? I have like, how many number columns in my entire database? More than over 1,000. Okay, if I execute this, I hope it doesn't run out of memory, because this is installed on my personal laptop, so it might run out of memory, but at work you will have plenty of memory. So let me try this. So it's going to loop through all the tables in the complete database, Oracle server, all the number columns and look for that value. So this is very resource intensive. So be very careful. Usually you won't be looping through all the tables in all the schemas. First of all, you won't even have access to do select star on the sys schema. So probably you will only have sales or HR or refunds or marketing. See how much time it's taking. I hope it doesn't run out of memory. And it will display all the columns, all the tables which have a number column and the value 100 in it. So this is a real-time example. Once again, you don't have to display on the screen. You can insert this into another table.
Abdul?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you like now two small things about this query. The first one is, do you mind if you take out the and row number 1, and I want to see what's the result, what's the different result after that?
Okay.
Please.
Okay, let me just stop this. It's taking too long. So it only checked 2 tables. Okay, I don't want to actually loop through so many. So let me just do Control Z. And let me stick to the employees table, and table underscore name equals, everything is uppercase. If you type in lowercase, it will not work because table names, schema names, everything is stored in uppercase. See, column names, everything is stored in uppercase. No red lines. Okay, so let me just execute this. Just execute this. Okay, now it's saying in employees table there are 5 number columns, but 100 is present only in 3. You are saying I should do this, right? You're saying you don't want to see this one, correct?
It's correct.
Okay. So if you don't say row num equals to 1, you're only seeing so when you execute this, you will have employee ID, you will have this one. So it's only displaying this one. So if you take this select null from okay, select null from, oh, I already have that here. If I take 1 second.
Like logically, you know why I ask you this question? If you put a raw number, it means that like you filter out something, like from the big table or from the big result, you take the smaller one. So when you take out the raw number to one, it should be bigger, like a bigger
No,
result.
the see, yeah, you're right. If I don't put row num equals to 1, it should display this one also. It should display this one because it doesn't, I'm not saying row num equals to, so when I get rid of this, even if its row num is 0, it should display that. Yeah, that's what I'm
But
looking at.
it's
Why?
fine, like only one employee ID.
Um, I'm not sure. Mhm. Try this out, play around with this.
Okay, can I ask my second question?
Yeah.
Okay, do you mind if you go back to your SQL, I mean PLSQL screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so Abdul, you use the execute immediate, right?
Right.
So logically, what about if we write down the loop, okay, the loop R in select all the select star, whatever, like a column name, table name, and after the begin, I mean the before the begin. So we put the regular like a DBMS output line and then show us the same text in the select null from this one.
Yeah.
So again, it's gonna go loop all of the tables that we gave it after begin. Then it's gonna write down on the screen that like a results, right? So you know, like I didn't get it. Like, what's the exact role of the execute immediate?
Okay.
But
So you're using a dynamic SQL here because this one keeps changing, right?
I know, but like in the loop, if we say that loop, this is gonna change all the time by itself too, right? It's gonna loop and write down on the screen, loop, write down on the screen the other one.
Yeah. So it's going to, so if you have a select statement in the body of your in the body of your block, and the column name keeps changing. So remember today we did select star from employees table where employee underscore ID equals to 100. Over there I did not do execute immediate because over there I'm using a select statement, but the column name was not changing, right? Let me go back and, so earlier today, see this one. Over here, the column names and the table name and those things are not changing. So I did not use execute immediate. But over here, this is a dynamic SQL because when you execute this, 5 different select statements will be generated with different column names in it, right? That is the reason you have to use execute immediate and into results. This is whenever you use execute immediate, you have to store it into a result. Over here, your select statement is static. This one will never change, right? It's always going to be Nina, and the column names are always going to be the same, right? But over here, I need to generate 5 different select statements with different column names. This
Yes,
one is dynamically changing.
I understood. Like you explained it very clearly, but the meaning of the loop is this one, right? That like a loop means that like you go to this this
Loop and execute immediate has nothing to do with their exclusive. Loop will give you these columns and table names, and then you have to substitute what the loop is giving into this. Since this is changing every time, okay, if in your loop statement you have only one column name and one table name, then you don't need this. If your loop is returning just one column name and table name, you don't even need to, actually you need it because the select statement is getting generated at the run interval. Because what happens if the column name gets changed tomorrow, right? You cannot hard code the column name here, right? So this select statement is generated at the runtime, right? I'm not hard coding table name or column name. If I can hard code table name or column name, then I don't need to use execute immediate. This loop is only returning these. Then I need to take this employee ID and plug it here. So these select statement keeps changing. 5 different select statements with different column. Then I have to use execute immediate and into result.
So it means that like the cursor. So before yesterday you showed us the cursor. It was also doing almost the same thing, like a maybe.
Cursor for that? Sorry. Sorry, my headphones got disconnected. Yeah, either you can use a cursor for this, or you can use whatever the for loop.
Execute immediate. So almost are the same thing, correct?
Yeah, you can either use a cursor. So for example, you can write so you can write the same statement. I'm not going to do the entire thing, but I'm going to write this declare result and then cursor c underscore. I'm just going to say c1 as, and then I'll copy this select statement. Cursor c1 as select this and this. Why is this okay? So let me type in begin. No, there is something wrong. Why is this wrong? Declare result varchar 1 cursor c1 as. Okay, I will say begin. Over here I can say dbms underscore out. Oh no, I will have to say open
cursor first.
Open c1 semicolon, and then I will type in loop, and then I will say exit when you have to, whenever you open a cursor, you always have to give it an exit condition. See, when c1
I think
was not found.
Before loop, we have to put the fetch too then.
Yeah, after loop, you will have to say fetch
then
c1 fetch c1 into. Okay, now I have to declare 2 more. So I will say v underscore column name varchar 230, because column names cannot be more than 30 characters. I will say v underscore table underscore name, and this one is also good. So I've created 2 variables. So I will copy this column name and table name from this, and I will fetch into C1 has column name and table name. I will fetch C1 into V column name and V table name, and then I can say exit when. Then I will say dbms underscore output. I'm not going to run the dynamic SQL. I will just say dbms. For now, I will just say dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. I will say column name. Okay, now I will start closing. So first I will close the loop. So I will say end loop. Then I have open C1. So I will say close C1. And then I have begin. So I will say end. Why is there still a red line here? Cursor, is there something? Oh, it's is not as. I forgot. See, guys, don't ignore any red lines. Okay. I missed the pipe. dbms, see, sorry, dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. Okay, now I'm displaying the column names and the table name. Now I know that my query is always here, it is working. I don't need to write this one. Instead, I can type in, what should I type here? I will type in execute immediate. Instead of displaying on the screen, I will say execute immediate, and will type in select null from table where column name equals okay, this one should be pipe should be equals to what, 100.
I think to make it like the same result for the cursor also we have to mention the 100 there.
Yeah, so I'll just equals to 100 and row num equals to 1 into results. So let me just copy this.
Okay.
Let me just copy this. Okay, execute immediate, select null from blah blah blah, and then into result, and then I will say after the okay, now I will okay, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but at least we are returning the columns and the table name. Oh, there is no r dot. Because over here we are saying for r in. Table name must be defined. Oh, there is no more table name. We are calling the table and then we are storing into this. No data found. There was no data fetched. How is that possible? Exit once execute immediate, select null from the table name. So it displayed this one. Select null from the table name where the column name equals to 100 and row name. try this out. Okay. Um,
So here you use the execute immediate together with the cursor.
yeah. So what was your question?
Here you use the execute immediate together with the cursor.
Yeah,
In
you're
what
getting
table?
getting confused with loops and execute immediate. This loop or cursor has nothing to do with execute immediate. Execute is immediate is used when you want to run, when you want to create select statements at the runtime. You have to have these 5 select statements, right? You're creating 5 select statements at the runtime, and in that you need to provide the table name and column name, which is coming from the for. You have to provide the table name and column name, which is coming from the cursor.
Abdul, okay, I understand. So look, on execute immediate, right? You put the it should be equal to 100. Is it correct? Look at v column name that you choose. Yes, over there, it is equal to 100. Correct?
Yeah,
It means that it's gonna just find that whatever there's 100 inside the result
in the column.
column. Yes, but what about the cursor? We say the cursor is gonna see all of them, not the 100 ones. Maybe that's why it doesn't work together. You see on the cursor, we didn't mention the 100.
Cursor is going to read. This is what your cursor is doing. Your cursor is returning all the columns in this table which are number data type. What does that have to do with 100? Cursor is returning these 5 columns, right? Then I will plug it into this one. Cursor has nothing to do with 100. Over here, the loop, I'm returning this, right? This has nothing to do with this 100. This for statement or the cursor has nothing to do with 100. Then I'm writing another select statement. Right? Did you get it?
Okay.
Okay, another way of doing this is not the best way. So if you execute this,
I think I want to ask one thing. I think we have to give in the where clause also, the 100, what you're saying over there.
where? Over here?
One second. Let me go to this. I mean, where you have written the select, like the select where owner, HR, and table name employees data type is equals to number.
Guys, this is not, you cannot say equals to 100 here. What does all tab columns have? Okay.
No. Yes, the data type is equal to number. Absolutely, that's correct. But
What does all, where do you want me to give 100? Tell me. Okay.
Yes, Abdul, I just have this question. Now, when you are doing execute immediate, the results
Hold
are
on,
being
1 second,
stored
1
in.
second. Okay. Where do you want me to give 100? Tell me. This
no, I'm
table will
I'm
only return.
asking. Do we include the 100 over there in the where clause over there? But that's I 100% understand. That should be correct. Data type is equals to number because we have to
Are you
mention
talking
data
about
type also.
are you talking
But
about are you talking about this select or this
no,
select?
I'm asking. I'm asking. Yes, the which one? I mean, yes, the that one with the cursor in this.
This
So
one?
I'm saying, should we include the 100 in
Okay.
this also?
Cursor. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
How can you put 100 in that? This, what does all tab columns have? I'm going back to the second or the third class. All tab columns will have the column name and the table name.
Oh, yes,
It will
yes.
not
Sorry.
have all the
Yes.
values 100, 200, 300,
Yes. In the second
right?
one. Yeah.
Guys, don't get
Right,
confused.
right.
In the second one, you have to say, so from this one, from the cursor, I will return the column names and the table names. I will keep plugging it into this one. Same thing. In the for statement, I'm going to return the column name and the table name, and I'll plug it 5 different column names. I return 5 rows. I will plug this one here, here, and execute this. Plug this one here, here, and execute. Plug this one here, here, and execute. This one here, here, and execute. This one here, here, and execute. I will store it into the result.
Okay.
Then I will say if data is present. You don't have to understand this right now. Okay, you don't have to understand this right away.
No, I got it now.
Do some
I
research.
got it
Do
there.
some.
A little bit I
Do
mixed, but
yeah.
I
Read what
realized
execute.
that this only comes in the second one. Yes, exactly.
Read what execute immediate does into result.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a combination of everything what we did so far. We are declaring this. We are
Yeah.
using these variables. We are using a cursor. We are using all tab columns. We are opening a cursor. We are again looping. We are doing dynamic SQL here. Oh, okay, this one. This is called the, what is this called? C1 not found. This is called the cursor, right? User, the system defined cursor.
Yes,
Right?
a system defined by
Not
default.
found, not
Yes.
found. Yeah, and then we are seeing dynamic execute in execute immediate and into this one. So we are
Right.
doing 4 or 5 things here. So go through this one at a time.
Yes, correct.
And
I have
then
no confusion.
figure out. Okay, do the same thing with the help of cursors, because with the help of cursor, I'm returning the column names and everything, but when I plug that into this one, it's not working. So
Okay, Abdul.
yeah,
When you do execute immediate, you are saving the results into result.
yeah,
Okay? Then what are you doing with it?
it just needs a place to store it. That's it.
Okay, but with your display statement, you are still displaying this. Okay,
I'm storing it into display. So this is a syntax. Whenever you write an execute immediate and a dynamic SQL, you will just say into result. See what happens if I comment this out. It will say missing the into statement.
okay. Second question is, if you want to print your output after the end loop, so how
If
would
you
you
want to
do?
what?
Okay, if you want to, let's say, store your results somewhere, then print them all together after the end loop. Don't print them in the loop.
Why do you not want to go into the loop?
No, like if the need is to store the results somewhere, because here we are just overriding every time the results. Result variable is storing only one record each time the loop executes. So, in other words, uh, if you print or whatever is in the result, it will be only one line if you print it after the end loop.
You want to store this in a table?
Yeah.
Like I said multiple times today, you don't have to write dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. You
Mhm.
can. Okay, I explained this 4 or 5 times, but I don't think you
No,
guys
this is to
understand.
display, of course, but what I'm saying is if you just want to save it as well, displaying it and saving it together.
That's what I'm.
The
Who did
previous
the
one was that, right?
who has a triggers class? I think I dropped my trigger. Yeah,
Once again, I will share.
yeah. So I said after update of each row, insert into this table. I don't know. I showed this in the class. You don't have to type in dbms underscore op. And once again, somebody asked this question in the last class. And the last class I said I modified the data and I stored it into the table also. I don't see that table. I think I dropped it. But you guys remember, watch the previous recordings. You don't have to display. Nobody displays messages on the screen. What if I close this? It will be gone, right? You store it into another table, and on that table, you will remove the update and delete access or whatever.
Mhm. Right.
Remember the audit table I showed, employee audit table?
Yes.
Yeah, in that one. So somebody asked if if you give should we have insert, update, delete access? I said no, you will only have select access. See, Turab's salary was, no, somebody's employee ID once salary was changed, so immediately that got previously we were displaying on the screen, then we wrote an insert into statement that gets inserted here. So trigger is a type of PLSQ block which I covered in detail. So you can either display on the screen or insert it into another table. I did it in the last flow also. Somebody asked that, so I displayed on the screen and inserted into the table.
Okay, got it.
Is that clear?
Mhm.
So once again, this one, you don't have to execute this every time. You don't have to execute this every time. You can just, you can say create or replace procedure, create or replace procedure, and then give it procedure, and then give it some name called, what are we doing here? Check columns in employee tables for 100. At work, you will have a syntax. Okay, as which one is this? Is this the for? Yeah. So I will say create or replace procedure check. I'll give it this name as, and then I will say uh, um, as, and then I will say begin. Okay, since I put a begin here, this should, I should have an end at the end, and then I will say end. This one. Okay, now I'm going to execute this. Okay, it says stored in the database. It says compiled successfully. So when I go to procedures, I don't see that here, so I'll just right click and refresh. Now I will see check call, where is it? Yeah, this one. So if I want to execute this one, all I have to do is execute and just take this. So it will execute. So if you want to check what the stored procedure is doing, just double click on this. You will get this entire stored procedure. So in your HR schema, there should be secure TML and add job history. There should already be 2 stored procedures present here. Okay, go through that. The other thing is, where is my stored procedure here? This one, right? This one, you don't have to type in the, so people who missed previous classes, you don't have to type in the data type here. You can always say, if an existing table and column has the same data type, you can just say employees dot
Borrowed one, right?
first underscore name percentile type. So this will copy the data type for employees table and then replace it here. And still, this will still work. Begin. Oh no, sorry, no begin. I have to do declare and all the way till here. Okay, so you don't have to. You can. This is called as anchor data type. Whatever is already present, because in that existing procedure, they're using anchored data type. Nobody wants to write in. Nobody wants to type in number and then. Is that clear? See, SQL, I covered everything end to end. No questions asked. In PLSQL, I covered 75 to 80% of it. Okay, you will not understand a programming language in 4 days. Not possible. Not possible. Okay, some of you still have some questions. Go through all these, because I did not cover packages, collections, date and time. You don't need dbms and underscore output. I covered. Records I did not cover, but most of the topics. Arrays I covered, or loops, conditions, operators. You will not learn a programming language in 4 days. If you still have some questions, that is okay, but you should know you should still be aware of all the basics we did starting from scratch, right?
Yep.
Is that clear to everyone?
Yes.
So the interview questions you can.
Abdul, is there any place that like PLSQL questions, like a laboratory lab questions, like if we can
Yeah,
practice by ourselves?
yeah, you can practice it here. You can practice it here,
Here
or
it's like a kind of not like a scenario, like there's some places like if there is
yeah.
like a
So
scenario you can do.
you can you can create an Oracle. You can create an Oracle. You can create an Oracle. You can create an account on Oracle's website. Why is it asking for all of this? Okay, so not this. Sorry, create an account on Oracle Live SQL. Guys, don't spend too much time. Whatever I showed should be enough. But if you really want to know what are the different kinds of stored procedures and all of those, so log into you. So you can. I think I showed this before. You don't have to download or anything. You can just go on this website and you can practice. The good part about this is you don't have to download anything. The second thing is just you need a good internet connection. If your internet connection is slow, this is not going to be fun. The good thing is this is so if you want to see sample scripts and tutorials, so PLSQL anonymous blogs. So if you want to see all PLSQL general, how to write the text in console, anonymous blogs. So it will tell you bulk, different types of cursors, change logging time, functions and procedures. So there's like 400 different sample scripts here. So somebody is saying percentile row type does not inherit values or constraints, right? So so for example, when I did this just now, if this column has constraint or if it has a constraint or something, that will not get imported. Only when you put percentile type, only the data type will get imported here. Okay, that's what they're saying. So if you're really interested, create an account on Oracle Live and you can go through all these, adding two numbers using PLSQL. Okay, you don't even have to look at this. We can do it here. You can say declare a integer equals to 10, b integer equals 20, and then you can say again, and then you can say dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. Say the sum of a and b is type in result. You can create another variable called result, and you can just call this as integer. And over here you can say result equals a plus b, and you can just pass this here. The sum of A and B is 30. Now you can start building on top of this. Now, for example, I don't want to type in integer here. Okay, you can say hr.employees.employee underscore ID. Then copy that. You can use anchored data type. You can use anchored data type. You can use anchored data type, and this will again work. Okay. Why does this? Oh, sorry, percentile type. Percentile type. Because you have to say what you're copying from that column. Want to copy the data type. Okay, so let's clear this out. Execute this. So sum of A and B is 30. Now you can start making, you can start exception handling. If you don't want to add, okay, I want to, the sum of A and B is 30, right? Then you can start doing exception handling here. You can say negative input and then negative input, and then you can call this as exception. You can start building like this, and then you can say begin. You can type in if A is less than 0 or B is less than 0, then raise exception. Else, I don't like to use else, but in this case I can use else because there is only two conditions, right? Either it's negative or it's not negative. So I can use if then, else, and then I will have to type in here and if. Okay, let me clear this out. So sum of A and B, say, for example, if I say minus 10, unhandled user defined exception. Why?
We didn't say that, like exception when.
Sorry. Exception. And then you will say when negative input, then dtms underscore output dot put underscore line A or B is negative, please fix. When negative input, then why is there a red line here?
Semicolon at the end.
Okay. Yeah. So you can start building on this.
Yeah. So Abdul, how do we read from like standard input into those variables instead of specifying in the code?
You don't
do-
have to. You don't have to hard code 10 or 20 here,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So you will have to learn about how to pass parameters to stored procedure. Like for example, where is my this one? So you can pass something like this. Okay. So look into that. You don't have to hard code 10 or 20. So guys, in my last 12 years, I've used stored procedures twice. Okay. I've only used because nobody is doing coding like this. Okay. Everybody is using ETL tools or other stuff. The only reason, especially if you work for a bank, you should be little good in PLSQL. Okay. In my last 12 years, 11 years, I've used it 2 times. And both of the times I had to loop through tables. I had to loop through tables and check for a value. In my current project, I loop through tables and check for -2. I'll tell you later why we do that. In my previous bank, in my previous company, I had to loop through all the tables and look for characters like this, weird characters. Okay, so over in that case, so all these they are something called as unprintable characters. Okay, so every number, every key on your keyboard has an ASCII value. Like lowercase lowercase a has ASCII value 91, uppercase a has value uppercase a has value 67, something like this. Okay, so all those unprintable characters, right? They were ASCII values between something 110 and 150 something. So instead of where is my where is my so over here, instead of saying where column name equals to 100, we would put ASCII value between 130 and 170. Exactly what we did here. We were doing. The other thing was we were not displaying on the screen. We were inserting it into another table. Okay. Don't worry too much about PLSQL. Know the basics. Okay. Know the basics like this one. Know the basics. Know the concepts. Know the concepts. And if they ask you where did you use, then you have to say we wrote a stored procedure to loop through tables and columns and look for a specific value. They'll ask you how did you do it. Just show what we did, what we practiced here. Okay. We declared and then we used a cursor or hold on. We declared a dummy value because and then we used a for statement and we looped through all the tables. We looped through all the tables to get the column names, and then we did a dynamic SQL where we use execute immediate and we stored this into a result set, and then we inserted it into another table, the table name, column name, and the value. Okay, they won't ask you more than that. They might ask you triggers. They will definitely ask triggers. They will definitely ask. We did that in depth. You guys are very good at that, so they'll ask you that. They'll ask you when did you give me a sample. Then they'll ask you difference between functions and stored procedure. Functions will always return a value. Stored procedure may or may not return a value. What are the different types of what are the different formats? You will have to say there is what are the different parameters you can pass. You can say in and out. They have examples for each of them here. Okay. Simple, that's it. I don't think they'll ask you more than that. They might ask you what is V array. We discussed that, right? They are a collection of similar objects. If you want to display the first V array, you will say brackets 1. If you want the second one, brackets 2. If you don't want, they might ask you, I want to display all of them except the third one. Remember, we did if a equals to 5, a equals to a plus 1, and then continue. We will skip that one. Remember that?
Yes,
Continue. Yeah.
right.
So, yeah. Once again, in 4 classes, you will not become an expert in a programming language. If that's the case, everybody in US would be a programmer. Okay. I went through, so this is the first time I showed PLSQL in the last 10 batches. So I tried to just show all the basics and the interview questions. If you know SQL, PLSQL is not going to be difficult. And we are going to start Power Center from tomorrow. You guys will enjoy Power Center. It's very easy. It's more of a drag and drop tool. You don't write a lot of code in there. I know you guys are tired of writing code and wanna see. The other thing with PLSQL is, since this is a programming language, you should know where to type a semicolon. It's very specific, like how you do it and where you need to put something. The moment you miss this one, the moment you miss that one, it will start throwing a bunch of errors, right? You won't know. So now you will know that there is a red line here. Okay, this is end of SQL, just put that. Or if you miss something like this, you miss typing like this and you execute this, so the only good thing is it will tell you which line number is a problem. It will say line 4, column 33. So it will say there is a problem here, line 4, there is a problem. Okay, clear?
Can you make your cursor jump to a certain line number instead of counting the lines or looking at the number?
Yeah, I'm sure it can. I showed you how to jump values, right? I showed you how display values from 1 to 10 and do not display 5.
No, what I'm saying is like you were saying, you have a error on line number 20, let's say. So right now we manually count the lines and then try to see what the error is. But is there a way that you can make your cursor go to line 20 quickly?
No, yeah, you have this here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I have a problem here. Okay, now I execute this. Okay, it says encounter the symbol end when expecting this line 11. So it's already telling you there is a problem with there is it's already telling you that there is a problem with the line 11 because it encountered end. It shouldn't encounter end. It should encounter this. So you will see, okay, here, what is that before that? And there is already a red line. Okay, see how
Mm.
much more easy do you want? It's already making it red here. It's already saying instead of end, it wants to see any of these. It's already saying line 11. So you cannot be like it should do everything for you, right? You have to put in some effort.
No, that's fine. Is I was just thinking about if there is a way to quickly jump to that line or move your cursor and make the changes. Okay, but you still have to scroll up and down and see, what is going
Yes, scrolling up and down is not difficult. If you know the basics, you'll you'll figure it out. Once again, don't worry too much about PLSQ. Just know the basics, whatever I showed in a 30-minute interview. 5 minutes is going to be like introductions, what you did in your previous project. 5 minutes will be SQL. PLSQL, they might ask you 2-3 questions. Okay, and Power Center they'll do 15 minutes. Previous 17 people we placed so far, I did not show them PLSQL. Even then they got a job. So this batch is at an advantage because I covered four days of PLSQL. Anybody has any questions? So let me.
Is it possible? I mean, if tomorrow we practice this PLSQL and you start the class from Tuesday, uh, which is
Now we are already 1 week delayed. You can still practice. You can see I did not give any assignments for the past 4 days, right? Right.
yeah. I mean, okay. I mean, is it possible that if it's not possible we start from next week and
No,
okay.
no. I think we should be good. We should be good.
Oh,
So
thank you.
no, I don't want to do because I already slowed down by 4 days because I covered PLSQ. Not
Okay.
actually slowed down, but yeah. Usually I would already be end of first week of PLSQ. Okay.
Okay.
Already 1 week end of informatica. Okay. So
Okay.
this video, and I will give you the links. There will be 4 links. Please download and install, and please have it ready. If you do not have it ready tomorrow, you will not understand what I'm teaching. Clear? Okay. Just stay on the call. I am going to send you the links.